welcome to Table Talk. My name is Betsy Thompson. We're so glad that you are joining us here for a place for honest conversations and getting to meet friends. I'm so excited that Nathan is here with us today.
Yeah, I'm super excited to be here.
Thank you so much. Y'all, if you've been watching Table Talks and listening to Table Talk, hopefully you have been. We are in the process of meeting everyone that is on our pastor search team here at Sagemont Church. And Nathan is a part of that pastor search team. So great time for us to get to know Nathan today. And I really do appreciate you coming in. It's going to be fun.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Yeah, absolutely. Nathan, I would say probably in talking with people at the church, people might say, Nathan's the one I don't know. Like there's quite a few that maybe they don't know, but that one I hear, Nathan's the one I don't know. And I have been so blessed to go, y'all, I know Nathan. He's awesome. He's great. Wait till you get to know him. And I will just say your sweet wife, Malene, is my daughter Madison's mentor in our Beside ministry. And they've been together over a year now, I think, for a while. And she is just the most precious, wonderful person.
She is. She's awesome.
She's just amazing. She is so sweet to Madison. And I love it because she says things that I say, but Madison hears it from Malene.
Yeah.
It's great.
Helps
it's
reinforce.
Great. Yes, it's fabulous. But she's so sweet. So I've gotten to know you a little bit through those situations. And so whenever I heard you were going to be a part of the pastor search team, I was like, good choice. That's a good one. So
thanks.
So glad you're a part.
That's great to hear.
Of that team. Yeah. So tell us a little bit, just introduce yourself, your family, and then kind of share your Sagemont story. How did you end up at Sagemont?
Yeah. Well, so my name's Nathan. Then, like you said, I'm married to Malene. Malene and I have been married coming up on 3 years here in July, which is super cool.
Yeah.
We actually got married 2 weeks before we moved to Houston, and then about 2 months before we joined Sagemont.
And where'd you come from?
We came from New Mexico.
That's right.
We met at school over at New Mexico State University.
Okay. Did y'all both grow up in New Mexico?
We did.
Okay.
I grew up in Carlsbad, New Mexico, which you might know, like the Carlsbad Caverns.
Yes.
And then Malene grew up in a smaller town called Truth or Consequences, New Mexico.
Which is just the best name of a town.
Right? It's got a fun story.
Yeah. It's crazy. So Carlsbad Cavern, is that the one with the elevator?
It is.
Okay. So listen, if you've been watching Table Talk, Ron Burton talked about his prayer life and how he acts like he's going into the elevator in Carlsbad. And that's how he begins his prayer life. And so that's really fun.
It's so such a small world. Like he and I were sitting on the first Sunday, we were going to be announced in front of the church, and we were just talking, and he just mentioned, he's like, you probably never heard of this town, but I grew up in a little town called Carlsbad. And I was like, wow, that's so crazy. I did too.
Amazing.
But
so cool. That's a fun connection. So y'all grew up in New Mexico, went to school in New Mexico, and then as quickly as possible, moved to Texas.
We did. So Malene got accepted to physical therapy school down at Texas Women's in downtown Houston by the Med Center. And her start date was kind of mid-August. And then with COVID and stuff, we were trying to figure out a wedding date and had like venues cancel on us several times. And it worked out that 25th, we got to get married in her hometown at her grandma's Baptist church. Oh, sweet. Which was super fun. Yeah. It worked out. Had to cut guest lists, but we were blessed to have a wedding and guests.
Yeah, in 2020 for sure.
Right.
Yeah.
And then moved here. Didn't have any connections in Houston. Just moved here for school, and then no church. It was COVID, newly married. So lots of big changes right in 2020, but
that's amazing.
Yeah.
So what do you do for your job? Because you moved here, found a job. So what do you do?
So I'm an electrical engineer. Okay. Right now I work with a group called Sparks. And so we're kind of like an engineer for hire, but I design circuit boards, stuff like that.
That's
nerdy
really
stuff.
Cool.
Yeah.
Okay. That's awesome. And Malene just graduated.
She did.
So proud of her.
Yeah. Lots of hard work.
So much hard work. So super excited. And so y'all came in August of 2020, started coming to Sagemont. So that's when, it was a whole weird deal of, are we going to meet? Are we not going to meet? What are we going to be able to do? But y'all came and have gotten plugged in. Where all are y'all plugged in? What are y'all doing at Sagemont?
Yeah. So when we first got to Houston, it took us about 2 months to find Sagemont. And then through like a a God connection.
Cool.
Ended up here and ended up at the Well, the iConnect class there. So Malene and I help out a lot. Andy and Joy lead that class. So we try and help out there. They have a guys and a girls Bible study that meets on Wednesday that we both help out with and contribute to. And so we've been plugging away there pretty much since we got here.
Which is great.
Yeah.
And if you don't know, the Well is kind of our young adult group on Sunday mornings. Meet at 9:30. If you are in that demographic, come join them. They do it's just a great group.
Yeah.
It's a really good group. Y'all do lots of fun stuff. And it is, I love it because y'all are very serious about your faith. And so thanks. Y'all, you do worship every Sunday morning in your group. Y'all do service projects and stuff during the week. So it's a great group.
It really is. It's been, for Malene and I, it's been such an answer to a prayer for community, because we had a really great community in college. And then when we moved here, we were pretty lonely. Even like we had each other, but you need church family. Absolutely. And so we've been really blessed by the young adults in that group.
Good. That is that season of when you're in college and you have your people and you're doing your thing. And then you get out of college and you kind of go, where are all the people?
Yeah. What's next?
What do we do? And they're not all living in the same dorm together or in classes together. People are working, schedules are different, all of that. So to have a place to build that community is so important.
It really is.
Yeah.
So
I love that y'all are doing that. Sorry, we talked a little about people just kind of go, who's Nathan? And the other thing people say that you are on the team, you are the youngest. So how old are you?
I'm 24.
24. Okay. So were you surprised when they called you? Did you know your name had gotten submitted? Did anybody say, hey, I turned your name in. You'd be awesome at this?
My wife told me. So that was very nice of her.
Good for her. I love it.
Other than that, no, I was pretty surprised.
Yeah.
Andy reached out and said, hey, could I give you a call? And I assumed you just want to talk about something with the well.
Right.
And then was Wes and Hudson were on a call. Okay. And I was like, wow, I must be in trouble or something.
What did I do?
Right. But yeah, definitely very surprised. Sat down and prayed about it a lot, talked it through with Malene, and felt like it's a thing to do.
I adore that you're on that team. I think it is so important to have your voice in that room. I think it's super important. What have been some of the things that as these first couple of months of being a part of the team that you've looked at and you can already see this is exactly where I'm supposed to be?
I think Sagemont is such a cool church that it's, we talk a lot, like it's multi-generational. So it's really neat just to have those conversations with people who have been at the church for years and years and years, and people who have just showed up kind of like myself for a big portion of the well. Yeah. So I love that input, the mix of this is things we've done in the past. This is how the Lord's been faithful to us. And then this is what's new, what's happening. These are other ideas from different places. So that's been really cool to see all that mix.
I love that. I think it's great to have, I love that the team is very diverse in the sense of, hey, this is what we've done. Hey, these are new ideas, and being able to mush those together. So I love that you're on there and willing to share, with the team and everything. I know in talking with the team, they've all really enjoyed getting to know you. And
that's good.
Yeah. It's a really great team. It's a neat group that you get to be a part of.
I've really enjoyed it. There's been lots of positive conversation, lots of good prayer together. It's been good.
That's awesome. I love that. So, serving in the well, coming to church, doing those things, what you do for work. What do y'all do for fun? Like what's fun things y'all like to do? Yeah.
My wife is very athletic and active, and I grew up very nerdy, studying, doing robotics club. Cool. And so when we started dating and now that we're married, we do a lot of fun, active stuff together. Okay. We like to go on walks, go on runs. When we first moved to Houston, I got our bike. So sometimes we go biking. Fun. A lot of times we just go hang out with friends, have some people over. Things like that we like to do a lot.
That's really cool. Okay, so she's a runner.
She is.
She's a runner. And you said sometimes we go on runs, but you were not a runner. So did you just learn how to run?
Yeah.
That's impressive.
It is. Yeah. She's really good, and she's very motivating.
That's good.
If you're like those mornings when you wake up and you're like, I could just sleep in another 30 minutes.
Sure.
She's like, let's do it.
Yeah.
So that's been really good.
That's awesome.
Keep me healthy my whole life.
Great people in our lives to have those people that go, no, we said we're going to do this, so we're doing this.
It is. And her personality just lines up so well with like being a physical therapist. So she's going to do great.
That's so great. I love it. I love it. So in just all the things that y'all are doing and getting to be down here, what, as you're in this process, what are you praying and asking God to do through the pastor search team, in addition to finding the next guy to be the lead pastor? But in addition to that, what are those things you're asking him for?
That's a really good question. I think the biggest one is like Sagemont's been, unfortunately, since we've had this absence of leadership, like we've been moving forward and continuing to do the things God has called us to, which has been awesome. Yeah. Like we're so blessed with good leadership still, with lots of faithful people in the church, just continuing to volunteer and to pour out with their gifts and their talents. Yeah. So I just want to, whoever comes in, I want them to be able to see all of the great members of the body of Christ that are serving here. And then just how can we continue to have those people plug in? How can we get more people to plug in and be active in the body of Christ? Yeah. Just like continue to have Sagemont be very healthy and active, which is super cool to see. Yeah.
It is such a neat thing to sit back and look at Sagemont through the years, which we've been doing recently just because of the anniversary and different things like that going on. The people here are so faithful. Yeah. And it's so exciting to see. And so it does make, even in a season of transition, it just makes you go, but God is so good. And so it's exciting to go, what's going to happen? How's he going to do it? Yeah. So I love that part.
I really enjoyed, I think it was 2 Sundays ago, Pastor Stewart had the rocks on the stage, the Ebenezer's. That's such like a great reminder to have in our houses now.
Yes. Yeah. Yes. That, what did it say?
Thus far, the Lord has been my help.
The Lord has been my help.
Yeah.
Love that. Thus far, the Lord has been my help. It's such a good thing for us to remember. Absolutely. So tell me a little bit about, just share your salvation story. Like, how did you come to know the Lord?
Definitely. So both of my parents are believers. Awesome. They actually went to the same school Malene and I went to and met at, and they actually met at the same, like church ministry.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. That's cool. The same guy was still leading it when they were there and we were there.
Oh my goodness.
So I'm really good friends with his son now, but awesome. Kind of a very cool story about the Lord working there. But so I grew up going to church. My parents they served in the children's ministry a lot, like helping out with VBS or running music and lessons. So I was always in the church. I remember at 8 years old, so we were living in El Paso at the time and kind of commuting back and forth to Carlsbad to help take care of my grandparents at the time. And I remember on one of those drives, just having a good conversation, like a spiritual conversation about the gospel with my parents. And then sometime after that, I accepted the Lord. And then after that, it was a kind of a continuation of what does walking with Christ look like in the sanctification process. I remember a lot of my friends before freshman year of high school were also in church. And then it seemed like when we got to high school, the worldview perspectives changed. I went from being in a group of Christians to being one of the only Christians. Wow. And so it kind of shocked me of like, wow, people have different beliefs. People don't want to follow Jesus as well. And so I went through this kind of like 3-year period with my youth pastor at the time. We went to a really tiny Baptist church. Okay. And so for a little bit, it was like myself and another person in the youth group. Okay. So it was a very tiny church. Yeah. And he and his wife were just really faithful to like continue to challenge me and pour into me. We went through a lot of like apologetics type stuff.
Wow, that's great.
Yeah. And then at the same time too, kind of on a bad note, like I got involved into some sin and started living kind of this double life. And with that, like there was this double life of I'm walking with God and trying to seek him and get to know him, but I'm also like living in sin and hiding stuff from my parents and not doing things that it talks about like walking in the light with Jesus. And I got to the summer before my senior year of high school, and we had this cool missions camp where you go out and you serve and build houses or help repair houses during the day, and then you come back and do really good worship and teaching at night.
Yeah, cool.
And during like one of the last worship nights, I felt like the Lord speak to me and said, like, Nathan, you've been considering this for like 3 years. Will you follow me now? And I can't say it was like the audible voice of God, but it was like, just stop you in your tracks type thing. I went and confessed like a lot of things I'd been going through to my youth pastor at the time, which his roommate actually goes to Sagemont.
Oh, wow.
Kind of a small world too.
That's crazy. Yeah.
And he just encouraged me to go out and go talk to my parents and confess that. And then over the next year, I got to really walk through with them kind of like, how do we seek God's direction in terms of looking for college, leaving the house, starting off on your own. The Lord is just very faithful through that, continuing to provide in terms of a really solid Christian roommate in college, like good people to disciple and mentor me in college as well through that Baptist Student Union at our school. And so the Lord has been good after that, continuing to keep me following after him. And then providing Moline too. That's been a huge blessing, keeping me going strong. Yeah.
I love that. And I love that your story has to motivate you to then pour back. To have those people that came alongside you, that held you accountable, that said, hey, these are the things that you need to do to honor the Lord, for you to be able to pour back in, with people your own age in the well or Bible studies and stuff, and have that foundation. I love that you have that foundation and you're able to use it.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
It's the ministry that we were part of in college. It was like the main verse was 2 Timothy 2:2. And it's like, and these things you have heard me say to you in the presence of many witnesses, go therefore and entrust to faithful men who are also qualified to teach others. But it's just a cool model of discipleship. Like, people have impacted you so much, like, go and impact another person who impacts another person.
Yeah, absolutely. It's beautiful and such a good thing that all of us can do, because every single one of us has a story that God has touched, and he just says, share your story with somebody else. So I love that you're doing that. That's awesome. Yeah. That's really cool. We are here at Sagemont really just in a season of really focusing on prayer. We're going to continue to be very focused in on prayer. And so one of the things I'm asking everybody, just because I think it's interesting for all of us to get encouraged by, is just tell us a little bit about your personal prayer life. What does that look like now? How do you make that a part of who you are?
Yeah, I think prayer is a discipline I struggle with the most in keeping consistency, which is probably not what you want your pastor search team to hear from your pastor search team.
That you're honest. Yeah. That's important.
But I think times that have been really helpful for my prayer life have been when I drive to work, using that first 10, 15 minutes of let's pray before I listen to a podcast or listen to music, but just start off the day with prayer there. Also just a good reminder of when you get into the word, like doing a quiet time each and every day, starting in that with prayer. And that's been really good for me.
I love that. That's perfect. Yeah. I think so often I hear from people all the time that in their car alone is such a good time to pray. And I think so often I know I'll catch myself where I'm like halfway home and I just haven't turned off my brain and thinking of all the things I have to do. And I'm like, okay, I'm getting ready to walk into my house. I need just take a second, pray, give all that to the Lord, and then move on to the next thing. Or you jump in the car, I do this, and I'm like, okay, I need to call this person and call this person. And it is just going, wait, being so purposeful. Prayer is one of those things that's so interesting. And as we continue here at Sagemont to really look at prayer, we'll dive into all of this. But it's so interesting that prayer is this, we get to communicate with God. And yet so often it's the thing we do the least.
Yeah.
And when you stop and think about it, you're like, why? Why do I do that? But so often you talk to people all the time and they say, this is an area that I struggle with. And it is such a neat discipline to get to be so purposeful with, because it is, we're going to talk to the Lord. Yeah. And share our hearts with him and hear from him. And so I'm so excited that we're going to be really diving into prayer and having those kinds of conversations of like, how do I work on my discipline in my prayer life? What tools are out there? How do I do that? Holding each other accountable with prayer life. So I'm excited. I think it's going to be really fun.
Yeah.
But I think we're all going to be challenged, which is a good thing.
That's true.
A good thing to be challenged to really develop that muscle of prayer.
That'd be really good.
I know. I'm excited about it.
I know a quote I think it's from Martin Luther, but it's always been challenging for me, as he says, I have so much going on today that I can't afford not to pray.
Yeah.
Or like to take he would take like 2 or 3 hours and pray if he had a busy day. But
isn't that amazing?
A challenge for,
Yeah, when we all say, I'm too busy, I can't stop.
Yeah.
And he was like, no, you're too busy not to stop.
Yeah.
To not stop and be purposeful with that. Yeah.
Exactly.
I love that. That's super encouraging. Thank you so much for coming and spending time with us and hanging out.
Yeah, of course. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. Y'all, listen, I say this. If you see Nathan, go up, say hello, ask him how he's doing, tell him thank you for taking the time, not just the physical time here with the pastor, but the emotional time and the mental time and all of those things. And just tell him thank you. Are you a coffee drinker?
Occasionally.
Okay. So if I tell people, if they see you, what do you want them to take you to do? Lunch, coffee?
Lunch, coffee, either works.
Any of them?
Yeah,
okay.
I won't tell him no.
There you go. Listen, Marsha Brown wanted him to take her shopping. So
I heard,
you could have picked anything. So y'all, when you see Nathan, please tell him thank you so much for being a part of this team. And I appreciate you coming and hanging out. Listen, thank you for hanging out with us today at Table Talk. Make sure you are checking out all the cool things going on at Sagemont Church. Come and be a part of things with us. We love to get to know you and ask you to just come and be a part of this amazing church family. Have a great rest of your day.